Hi, Sally Walker here, your hormone and slow age expert. So what are these little mitochondria? Very, very specialized organelles. And they're found, as I said, pretty much in every single cell apart from mature red blood cells. And so you're probably thinking, well, why, when they're so important for making energy for the cell, why they're not in red blood cells? Well, principally it's because red blood cells are carrier molecules. And what do they carry? Oh yes, they carry oxygen, don't they? And so we can't have the cells being filled up with lots of mitochondria, because it's not just one mitochondria in the cells, is there? There's thousands. In a typical liver cell, there will possibly be about 2,000. In a typical heart muscle cell, there can be over 5,000. And in your brain cells, called neurons, they can be millions. There can be so many of these mitochondria. They are so important for making this energy. And it's a bit of a complicated process, but I did write an article about how we produce ATP, so you can have a little look in the blog and see the article there. And but anyway, so they look like a bean, really, I suppose. But they have amazing abilities. They can become longer. They can become shorter. They can halve themselves, and on all this called fusion and fission. So there's an article about that as well. So they're very, very versatile, and they try to meet the cell's need for making energy, so the cell can do its job, basically. Yeah. So it's got a double membrane, and that's very important because there's all kinds of things going in and on and in and out of these membranes, and happening on the inside and happening on the outside. As I said, it's all quite technical, but there is an article about ATP production, so you can get an idea of what's going on, how we convert the foods that we eat to ATP. Basically, we oxidize these things, don't we? So it's called aerobic respiration. So it's not as in breathing oxygen in, is what is happening in these little mitochondria, because if the mitochondria is going to work, then they need oxygen to be able to do their job. So fortunately, we are very lucky because we can break down glucose to make a very tiny bit of ATP, and we don't need to have oxygen for this. But if we were going to get the big amount of energy from the glucose, then we need to make sure it goes into the mitochondria, and there we will absolutely need oxygen. Yeah. So have a little bit more of a read in the article called Mitochondria 101, and this will give you more information about the mitochondria. But just to give you that heads up that they are fundamentally probably the most important part of the body, because as I said, if the mitochondria are not making energy, nothing's going to happen. Your heart's not going to beat, your mind's not going to work, your muscles are not going to contract, nothing will happen. So I think this makes them possibly the biggest and the most important part of our optimal health strategies. And there's lots of articles about how you can mind and mend your mitochondria. And you need to look at those articles as well, because that's really important if you are going to live a very long and active and healthy and amazing life. You need to make sure these mitochondria are working properly. Happy hormones, happy life.